So let's look at some more ways we can use this place value chart. So hopefully, first of all, hopefully you're writing much smaller than I am right here. I'm writing large so that it's easy for you to see on your screen as you're working with me. But notice I'm still using my same place value chart. I still have the stuff there. I'm not going to erase it. I'm just going to leave it because that's what your paper should be like. So on number 1 right here, it says write this in standard form. Standard just means regular. So anytime you see that word standard, you just need to think regular. Standard means regular. So we're going to write this number, whatever it is, in regular form. Let's see if I can get my screen back the way it was. There we go. It's pretty close. So now I'm going to use my place value chart. I'm going to take this information that they gave me right here. I'm going to put it in the place value chart, and then it's basically going to give me the answer to this. So let's start with the first part. A 3 in the ones place. So here's my ones place right here. So it's telling me to put a 3 in the ones place. I'm going to go ahead and put my decimal, because remember our decimal is always between the ones and the tens place, always. Okay, now if I go to my second part over here, I have a 5 in the hundredths place. Now here you want to be careful because this does have the TH on it, so you don't want to get confused and write it over here by accident. It does have the TH, so that means here's the TH, the hundredths. So that's where my 5 goes. So my 5 goes there. Now, something super important on this one. Anytime that you have a gap between numbers and between a decimal, you must put a 0. You must fill that gap with a 0. So what I'm talking about here is this area right here. Notice there I have a 3 decimal, a gap, and then a 5. So I have a gap in the middle of my number. I must put a 0 right there. Now you may be thinking, well, what about over here? Like you have a gap there and you have all these gaps. Well, if you wanted to, you could put zeros there. To show that there is nothing in the thousands place, for example. There is nothing in the tens place. You can put zeros there, but it's not required. If it's on the ends of the number, it's not required to put a 0, but if it's in the middle between things, you must put a 0. So the answer to this question, all I have to do is take this number right here, and that's the answer to number 1. So my answer is 3.05. And if I was going to read it correctly, my answer would be 3 and 5 hundredths is how you would read that. And here's our word form, 3 and 5 hundredths. So this is what it looks like in word form. A very common mistake that I want to show really quickly is that students do this. When this happens, you end up getting it wrong. So let's say you have a gap in a number and you forgot to put the 0 in the gap. What would happen is this. You would think that the answer is going to look like this because you forgot to fill in the gap with the 0. The problem with this is this 5 that you've written now is in the 10th place. And if we look over here, there is nothing in the 10th place. So that's why if you thought this was the answer right here, this would be wrong. But it is a very common mistake that students make. In fact, on multiple choice, this right here is probably going to be an answer choice to try to trick you. So again, anytime you see a gap in the middle of a number, make sure you put a 0 in there to show that nothing is in that place value. Okay, here's number 2. We're going to write this in standard form. Remember, standard means regular. 6 in the thousandths place. And I notice that does have the TH. Every time I see the TH, I underline it so that I remember, because sometimes it won't have the TH, and then you're going to be putting it over here. But this does have the TH, so it's going to be going here. So we're putting a 6 in the thousandths place. And let's go ahead and put our decimal. So this is what, on your paper right now, you should have this written down just like I do. But obviously write smaller than me so that you have more room. Now, I have some gaps here. I have some gaps. So right between the decimal and this number, there's these gaps. The gaps must be filled in with zeros. Okay, so anytime you have a gap between decimals and numbers, zeros go there. Now you may be thinking, well, look at all these gaps over here. Do I have to put zeros? Not in all of them, but you always need something in the ones place. So in the ones place, we are going to fill that gap with a 0 because you always need something in the ones place. If there are no ones, you need to put a 0 to show there are no ones. So our standard form is going to look like this. Let me get my color back. 0.006. And if we were going to read that correctly, we can come back to our place value chart. We're going to read over here. We would say 0 and 6 thousandths. And that's how you would read it.